Kallur, a village nestled amidst emerald hills and shimmering backwaters. The morning mist would rise gently, revealing a landscape that seemed almost otherworldly. The villagers would wake to the sound of birds chirping and the gentle rustle of leaves, a symphony of nature that was both calming and enchanting. Its beauty was breathtaking, serene. The backwaters glistened under the golden rays of the sun, and the lush greenery painted a picture of tranquility. It was a place where time seemed to stand still, where the worries of the world felt a million miles away. But beneath the tranquility lay a current of fear. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the village took on a different character. The mist that had once seemed so beautiful now cloaked the village in an eerie shroud, and the once comforting sounds of nature became unsettling whispers in the dark. Ancient legends whispered through the generations. Stories of spirits and supernatural beings were passed down, each tale more chilling than the last. The elders would gather the young ones around, recounting the tales with a gravity that made the hair on the back of their necks stand up. They spoke of a Yakshi, a seductive spirit who haunted the fringes of the village. This spirit, they said, was as beautiful as she was deadly, luring unsuspecting souls into the depths of the forest, never to be seen again. The villagers spoke of her in hushed tones, their faces etched with a fear passed down through centuries. The stories were not just tales to them, they were warnings, lessons learned from the past, meant to protect the present. The elders warned against venturing out alone at night. The forest paths, which seemed so inviting during the day, became treacherous under the cover of darkness. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig, was a reminder of the unseen dangers that lurked just beyond the village's edge. The forest, they claimed, held secrets best left undisturbed. It was a place where the natural and the supernatural intertwined, where the line between reality and legend blurred. The villagers knew better than to test the boundaries of this mysterious realm. But these were just stories, mere folklore, dismissed by some as superstitious ramblings. The younger generation in particular found it hard to believe in such tales, often laughing them off as the product of overactive imaginations. Yet, the fear lingered, a palpable presence in the air. Even those who scoffed at the legends couldn't entirely shake off the feeling of unease. It was as if the very soul of the village was steeped in these ancient fears, a haunting melody that played softly in the background of their lives. Ajay, a young writer from the city, arrived in Kallur seeking inspiration. He scoffed at the tales of the Yakshi. He considered them mere figments of an overactive imagination. His skepticism was fueled by the logic of the modern world. He believed in what he could see, what he could touch. The beauty of Kallur captivated him. He spent his days exploring its winding paths and talking to the locals. Their stories, though laced with fear, intrigued him. He dismissed their warnings, attributing them to their isolated existence. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Ajay felt an irresistible pull towards the forest. The air was heavy with the scent of jasmine and a strange, unsettling stillness. He ignored the villagers' warnings, his curiosity overriding any fear. He told himself he was simply seeking inspiration for his writing. The solitude of the woods called to him, promising a world untouched by human hands. He ventured in, his footsteps the only sound in the eerie quiet. The deeper Ajay went, the denser the forest became. The light from the setting sun struggled to penetrate the thick canopy, casting long, eerie shadows. He heard strange sounds, rustlings in the undergrowth, the screech of an owl. His heart pounded in his chest. He started to feel uneasy. The air grew heavy, charged with an unseen energy. His skepticism wavered. He couldn't shake off the feeling that he was being watched. Every shadow seemed to twist and writhe, taking on menacing forms. The enchantress of the woods. And then he saw her. A woman of ethereal beauty stood in a clearing bathed in moonlight. The air around her seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly glow, casting an enchanting aura that was impossible to ignore. Her long dark hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall, each strand catching the light and adding to her ethereal presence. It was as if the night itself had woven her hair from its deepest shadows. Her eyes, large and luminous, held a depth that was both alluring and unsettling. They seemed to see right through him, as if she could peer into the very depths of his soul and uncover his deepest secrets. She wore a white sari that shimmered in the moonlight, its fabric flowing gracefully with every movement she made. The sari seemed almost alive, reflecting the moon's glow and adding to her mystical allure. A single jasmine flower adorned her hair, its delicate petals contrasting beautifully with her dark locks. The flower's sweet fragrance mingled with the night air, creating an intoxicating blend that heightened the sense of magic around her. She introduced herself as Lakshmi, her name rolling off her tongue like a melody. There was a timeless quality to her voice, as if she had witnessed the passage of countless ages. Her voice was like the tinkling of wind chimes, sweet and melodious. Ajay was mesmerized, unable to tear his gaze away from her. Each word she spoke seemed to weave a spell, drawing him deeper into her world. He forgot his fear, drawn to her beauty and charm. The forest, which had once seemed so foreboding, now felt like a sanctuary, a place where magic and wonder were possible. He was captivated by her stories, her knowledge of the forest and its secrets. She spoke of ancient trees that whispered forgotten tales, of hidden groves where time stood still, and of creatures that danced in the shadows. Ajay felt as if he had stepped into a dream, one he never wanted to wake from. Unveiling the horror. As the moon climbed higher, Ajay noticed something strange. Lakshmi's shadow didn't move with her. It remained static, elongated and distorted. Her reflection in a nearby stream showed a horrifying truth. Behind the beauty, a grotesque creature lurked. Her feet were twisted backwards. Her eyes glowed with an eerie light. The beautiful face contorted into a mask of horror, revealing rows of sharp teeth. The air grew cold, thick with the stench of decay. The transformation was swift and terrifying. The enchanting woman was gone, replaced by a creature of nightmare. Terror lent speed to Ajay's feet. His heart pounded in his chest like a drum, each beat echoing the urgency of his flight. He ran blindly through the darkness, the Yakshi's shrill laughter echoing behind him, a haunting reminder of the danger that lurked just out of sight. He could hear her pursuing him, her heavy footsteps shaking the ground, each step a thunderous reminder of her relentless pursuit. The forest seemed to close in on him, the trees reaching out with gnarled branches like grasping claws, as if the very woods were conspiring against him. He stumbled and fell, his clothes torn, his body bruised. The forest floor was unforgiving, littered with sharp rocks and twisted roots. But the fear of the Yakshi drove him onward. He could not afford to stop, not even for a moment. The thought of her cold, ghostly touch spurred him to his feet. He had to escape the cursed forest. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and the shadows seemed to whisper his name. He had to warn the villagers. They had to know of the danger that was coming, the evil that was chasing him. He finally burst out of the tree line, gasping for air, his chest heaving. The open space felt like a sanctuary, but he knew he was not safe yet. The village was still a distance away, and the Yakshi was not far behind. He saw the faint outline of the ancient temple at the edge of the village. With the last of his strength, he staggered towards it, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. He slammed against the heavy wooden doors, crying out for help. The villagers, awakened by his frantic cries, found him collapsed on the temple steps. He was pale and trembling, his eyes wide with terror. He tried to tell them about his encounter, about the beautiful woman who transformed into a monster, but the words tumbled out in a jumbled mess. The villagers listened with a mixture of fear and grim understanding. They had heard it all before. They knew the legend of the Yakshi. They knew the fate that awaited those who strayed too far into the forest. They took him in and tended to his wounds. The village elder, his face etched with years of wisdom and worry, shook his head sadly. He spoke of ancient rituals and protective charms. He spoke of the need for caution and respect for the old ways. Ajay left Kallur the next morning, his spirit shaken, his skepticism shattered. He carried the memory of that night etched deep within him. He carried the fear that lingered in the air, the fear that whispered through the trees. The villagers, forever bound to their land, continued to live under the shadow of the Yakshi. They knew that the forest held secrets best left undisturbed, and they knew that the legend of the Yakshi would continue to haunt their nights, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of their beautiful world.